this concept which I have come to understand is very important for me personally, which is called the enough point. Right? Let me give you an example. That we lived for the last 10 years in Bangalore in a beautiful 4,000 square foot home. We were a family of four. Each of us had our own rooms. We were used to a certain kind of a lifestyle. But when the children grew up and went off to university in their respective countries and so on, and Nilima and I became empty nesters in a way, we realized very soon that we were a little bit out of sync with our immediate environment. That our home was a little too big for us. The kind of life we were leading was a little too complex. We had been for a long time on this treadmill of more is better. And as we were working on ourselves at a personal level, we realized that we have reached what we defined as an enough point. In other words, that our needs and expectations and desires are not going to grow continuously from here on. Neither are our resources. So having come to this understanding, we made a conscious choice to downsize and to simplify our lives. And in doing so, we must have surprised a lot of people around us, because that is not the way in which most people lead their lives when they are in their late 40s and early 50s. So we chose to move to a smaller place. We moved to Mumbai, which is a more supportive and there is more of a community and a family network there for us. So we felt more at home in that place. And we really simplified our needs to such an extent. So our life going forward is now going to be based around the center of gravity of our enough point. Now, how can we extrapolate that for a larger group of people, for a community, for an organization? I think that this concept of the enough point, in a funny way, is now counterintuitive to most people. In fact, if you downsize and simplify your life personally or organizationally, it is considered a failure in today's world. It's not considered progress. But in our view, it is very important that every organization, every culture, every community, every group of people, every team must have an intuitive understanding of what their enough point is. Because if you try to stretch your life continuously beyond that enough point, our experience says that reality will come and give you a whack on the side of the head. And instead of having reality come and give you a whack on the side of your head, why can't we raise our own consciousness to understand what our enough point is? And how can we reorganize our lives around that? So what would that mean? For an organization, it would mean a period of perhaps significant restructuring and consolidation, rather than to look for this tearaway growth and expansion in all directions. For a community, it might mean doing something that keeps us very closely connected to our roots, rather than simply thinking about the wings and rather than simply thinking about expansion and extension and so on. For a family, what might it mean? It might really mean having a realistic view of what our resources are, and then finding a way to adjust our lives to manage within the set of resources. In the Indian culture, this is a very natural thing actually. It's been there in our culture for a long time. Living within our means, not living with a debt burden, is part of our social conditioning. So if you think in terms of the family, in the Indian culture, it's been part of our conditioning that We always live within our resources, that we know what our resources are, we have a realistic view, we always set aside something for a rainy day, and then we manage the rest of our lives within what remains. Even if that means that there may be a little less food on the table, or we may not be able to buy everybody new clothes for Diwali, that we understand what that means. But when we go to the other extreme, when our needs and desires become so important that we are prepared to borrow money, we are prepared to be in debt, whether it's on a credit card or whether it's from a bank loan or whether it's from a personal loan, to simply satisfy my short term immediate needs. This is going to put a huge burden on us in the future. And it changes the mindset of how we engage with life.